Welcome to the 22nd episode of the Nerdom and Other Nonsense Anime Podcast. Today we're reviewing weeks 3 and 4 of the summer 2017 season. My name is BCom, and this anime sprint of death trying to catch up with the season is making me see anime characters in real life. Luckily, the main ones I see are Nina and Rita from Rage of Bahamut, though every once in a while, the girls from Angel's 3-Piece do plague my nightmares. Also with me is Leo.
What's up, everybody? So this episode is a little bit special. Some of our synopses will be shorter since we were just trying to catch up with the season, and we apologize in advance. But you will still get the general idea of the episode, so don't worry there. But say for some reason you prefer our shorter synopsis and then a little bit different style we're doing. If you really do, then just send us a message at Nerdom and Other on Twitter, or email us at nerdomandother@gmail.com. I mean, if the response is overwhelming, then yeah, it's definitely something we'll definitely want to look into. And also, there will be changes to our first episodes of each season, so as to avoid situations like this one happen again. More on that when we start this winter season. But other than that, we hope you enjoy this episode. So take it away, BCom.
So starting with Sundays, our first show is A Centaur's Life. And we'll start with episode 3, which is titled... Where do the little ones get so much vitality? And also, regardless of the generation, magical girls are popular, huh?
I think your first sentence would be a better title.
Yeah, basically, my first sentence is, this episode is all about lowly cuteness fan service, completely. So it starts off immediately. Hime has a little cousin Centaur named Shino. She has black hair. She's very cute. In the first,
it's her niece.
Is it her niece? Oh,
yeah. Because remember later on when she sees them off, she calls the girl's mom Oni-san or whatever, older sister.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I saw the word cousin at some point, but I'll defer to you because I didn't pay that close attention to that part of it. So
yeah, because I was totally trying to figure out who this. At first, I thought it was like her mom's sister, but it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
it was her older sister.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in the very first shot of the episode, Shino, the little centaur, runs up to Hime, kisses her on the cheek, and then literally rubs her face on her breasts, on Hime's breasts, for a solid minute. She's just rubbing her face repeatedly, on her face and on her breasts for a minute as Hime's mom is talking to Shino's mom. It's ridiculous.
It's like what a cat does. It rubs its face on you and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they're little half horse girls. So I guess if you want to think of it that way, that's their animal instincts, whatever. Okay. Once they finally get out of the house, they randomly meet up with this student council president, angel girl Tama, who we've met before, and she has triplet cat girl sisters who are named Chiho, Chinami, and Chigusa. And I would be lying if I didn't say that almost the entire reason I became interested in watching this show in the first place was the short clip of those 3 cute little cat girls in the PV for the show. I was excited when they showed up. So basically, the main conflict of this first half of the episode is that Shino is really jealous of the cat girls who are fawning over Hime and trying to kiss her because Shino wants her all for herself. And this leads to her asking questions about whether or not it's okay for girls to kiss other girls. And Tama-chan, who's she says it's not because she's talking to a little girl and her sisters, and she doesn't really want to have to explain love and homosexual versus heterosexual relationships on the fly. However, the 2 lesbian girls from their class show up, and when they hear what's going on, they just kiss each other on the spot to show that it's totally okay.
Well, one kisses the other.
Yeah, the instigator kisses the other girl. The other girl's happy about it though.
And she cracks me up. She was funny in one of the other episodes too.
She was. And so Tama starts freaking out and hits them with a vegetable or something.
A leek.
A leak, yeah, a big
the good old leek.
So this leads to the catgirl triplets chasing after Shino and trying to kiss her. It's extremely cute, as she's galloping away and they're all running after her. And they all eventually end up in a little water fountain. And I loved the way that Tama uses both of her hands and one foot to pick her little sisters up out of the fountain and take them home, basically. So yeah, when Hime and Shino get home, this is where it gets a little bit more lewd. They proceed immediately to take a bath together, and they're like washing each other's bodies, and Shino's looking at Hime's boobs like, whoa. Everything is covered conveniently by steam clouds, so I wonder if they'll uncensor that for the Blu-ray. I kind of hope they don't, because it's pretty lewd. It's very fetishistic, that whole scene. But anyway, one part I liked of it was when Hime was like, lay your ears down so I can wash your head, like so you don't get water in your ears, and she like lays her ears flat on her head like a horse would. It was weird.
I just wanted to say though, there's really no point in having this scene in here, but to Americans this may seem weird. Probably not most anime people. They know it's normal for Japanese people to take baths with family members, so
yeah,
there's that.
Look, it's better than Angel's 3-piece where the dude is taking baths with his younger sister, like repeatedly.
You're still watching that?
Plagues my nightmares.
I stopped after the one episode.
Meanwhile, Shino looks at Hime's breasts and asks if she makes milk. End scene. So at the end, Hime's aunt pulls up in a van designed to like comfortably seat centaurs, which I liked seeing. And Hime gives Shino a kiss, like she's asleep, basically. And for some reason, Hime's like aunt or whatever says she wishes Hime was a boy, but she can't give Shino away to a lowly Yuri lover like Hime. It was like, okay, it was like a little bit of a lewd joke. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay, moving on to the second half of the episode. This introduces Tama's fourth little sister, Sue, who is also like a little angel. She looks just like a little Tama. And she's younger than the other Catgirl sisters, being toddler aged. Basically, Tama's mom, I think, is an angel, and her father is a cat guy. So that's how she gets Catgirl sisters. Her sister is like very weak and gets sick just from like running around a little bit outside, but Tama has student council responsibilities, so she leaves her sisters at home and says, you need to take care of your little sister, don't go outside. So she goes off, and then they immediately go outside. They invite lots of friends over too, and they play outside until Sue gets sick, and then they come back inside and take care of her a little better. Meanwhile, Tama is at the student council meeting, and it starts to run long, and she says something like, I've indulged you long enough, we need to make a decision right now. And they're like, they push back against that, and they're like, no, this is too important. And she's like, no, what's actually important is like my time and my family, and I need to get back to them. And like,
it was a good speech.
It was, and like some girls come up to her in the hallway afterwards and say like, I understand what you're saying, but I think this is really important. And then she tells them like, hey, I saw my grandfather die on his deathbed, and his last words to me were, let's go home. And like ever since then, she said, I've decided to put my family first no matter what. So I liked her speech. I liked how adamant she was about that. And then she gets back home, and it's weird. Like there's been this like little goat girl who's been playing with Sue like the entire episode, and we thought it was just like one of their like the cat girl's friends, but it turns out that like nobody else like really saw her, and that like maybe she was like a ghostly spirit who was looking over Sue.
Which dad is weird. Says that, right?
Yeah, her dad kind of when
they
dad
live at
gets
a
home,
shrine, and he talks about some ghostly spirit that. He's like, it's a good one, but it just hangs out with like lonely people or something like that.
Yeah, it was a kind of weird thing to throw ghosts into this world, but there's so many crazy things going on already that I guess why not? So yeah, that's episode 3. You had saw something in this episode, yeah.
Oh my! I started laughing so hard I had to pause it. But there's just the quick scene where like she ends her student council practices and then goes to the supermarket. But the supermarket, I don't know how intentional this was, has an English name. It's called Max Varu, and I just lost it. I could just totally hear Japanese people in my head saying Max Varu
instead of Max Value. Yeah.
Yes.
it's so dumb.
And I just lost it, and it killed me. And I was like, I don't know. It's just this little thing. It's a 2-second screenshot, but it had to have been intentional.
It was pretty funny.
I loved it.
So I'll read the title for episode 4, and then you can read your alternate title. So
okay.
Episode 4 is called Why Are We So Bewildered When We Receive a Love Letter? / you can tell what type of person is by whether they believe in UMAs or UFOs or not UFOs. What's your alternate title for this episode?
Uncomfortable and awkward as fuck.
Okay, so let's
and my
get
note
into
is
why that
I
fits.
can't wait for me come to this synopsis because you have to talk about vaginas.
So basically,
I don't know why it's amusing to me. Just go with it.
Yeah, the first half of this episode adapts. I've been hearing about this ever since this anime started airing. Like, there's an infamous chapter 1 of this manga that they a lot of people thought they weren't going to adapt because they kind of skipped over it with the first couple episodes. But they do adapt it here. So in the first half, Hime gets a love letter from some angel folk boy classmate, and she runs away from him instead of giving him an answer, and her friends try to get her to explain why, like, the whole day, and she just keeps avoiding them until eventually they go over to her house where it's a little safer. There's nobody around to overhear. And so Hime says when she was on a school field trip as a little kid centaur, they went to see some farm animals, and they're like looking at the back of a cow, and some shitty kid next to her says like, "Oh, does yours look like that too?" Meaning like the cow vagina. And so Hime developed this complex where she has never even looked at her own private parts because she's so scared they might look like a cow's, and she feels awful about it. And so like she can't go out with this boy because she feels like she might be ugly down there, basically. So Nozomi is like, I have a solution. And she says that she and Kyoko will show Hime their vaginas and then check hers to see if everything is all right. You just love that I said the word vagina, don't you?
I don't know why. Not to mention the situation you're using.
Such a nerd.
It's blowing my mind.
So Nozomi goes first, and they get like right up in there. They're like breathing on it, and she's like, "Oh, that breath tickles."
Like, and then, they're staring it down.
Yeah, they're just like in there like a fine piece of art, like just diagnosing anything wrong. And then so Kyoko goes second, even though she doesn't really want to. Nozomi basically has to rip her underwear off, and they look at her. She's like, "Yeah, it's furrier than I expected," because she's a goat girl. And then Hime goes last, and it turns out she has a very pretty vagina. Good for her. Nozomi like slaps her on the hindquarters and says, "You're good to go," and like she's all happy. After these events, Hime then has the courage to accept the love letter from her boy admirer. However, when he asks like for an answer again, or they meet again, she just runs away because it turns out like all he said in his letter was like, "I love your huge breasts." So he wasn't really a good fit for her anyway.
Guy's not smooth at all.
Yeah. So the second half of the episode is Hime and Kyoko helping Nozomi stay focused on studying for an exam, so she doesn't fail and stay behind a grade. But that's not very interesting. What is interesting is when Nozomi spots a UFO outside the window, which no one else sees except for her. But they start speculating on who it could be, and they wonder if it's the Antarcticans, a society of reptilian snake people who live in Antarctica. Little is known about their technology, but apparently they're at odds with America, and they charter craft from the Aztec nations in order to travel around the world. And the Aztecs have a snake deity named Quetzalcoatl, and this is all this world building is kind of batshit, but I was just sitting there like chuckling to myself. But the next day at school, they introduce they notice a bunch of increased security and military presence on their way. And it turns out the reason is that they have a transfer student coming in, and it's the Antarctican snake girl named Quetzalcoatl Sasasul. Is that right? Sasasul, yeah.
I want to say I like the blue they use on her. Really like that color, that shade.
Oh, the blue color? Like her eyes, or just like her
eyes
body?
And the jewel in her head are the same.
Yeah, so she's literally like a girl, but her entire top half is just snake. So we rarely see something like that in anime. And so she's introducing herself to her class, and Hime just has this horrified look on her face. And then like they kind of meet eyes, and Sasasul just like flicks her tongue, and like Hime like yelps, and that's like the end of the episode. That was
cool. Because the teacher assigned Hime to give the student a tour and help her out.
Yeah.
So that's why she was like terrified. And then when she flicked her tongue, she yelped, and I laughed. It was good.
All right. Any other thoughts on that? Just lewdness, lots of lewdness, lots of fan service. It was kind of fun.
I see why people were surprised though when they did do that episode, because that's this really the rest of the show really isn't doing that, but
yeah.
So anyways, next one, Princess Principal, episode 3, Vice Voice, and I wrote way too much.
That's okay. We can get through it quick.
Yeah. So Ange and the princess are like continuing their conversation from the last episode, and Ange is like, we've tricked Control and they should run away together, and she already has the house set up and whatnot, but the princess refuses because she needs Ange's help to become the queen. But Ange is upset by this, but says she will deceive the princess, the world, and even herself if she has to. But then we go back to the little tea room or whatever it is when the princess is getting her hair brushed by Beatrice. When she apologizes for making the decision about Ange without her, Beatrice voices her own opinion about being against it, and Dorothy and Ange show up to give the two of them a tour of sorts. They take them to what they called the club room, and they haven't decided what club they are yet, but and a name and whatnot, but they're gonna figure it out. But then Dorothy flips the backboard around to reveal a wall of guns. The princess picks up a pin and it accidentally goes off and explodes the statue's head. And then they finally get their next orders, and they have to board the HMS Gloucester.
Gloucester. Well, that's how they say it in Massachusetts anyway, so I don't know.
Okay. Because they had stolen their printing plates from the Commonwealth, and they can use those printing plates, obviously make more money and then totally wreck their economy and what's up. But so it goes up to the princess to board the ship and create an opening so the others can board. But if she doesn't want to do it, Ange can also always wear a dress, but they end up going with the princess anyways. And then this is where we get a little background behind Beatrice and why her voice is like it is. It starts to go out during their conversation. She has to run away to fix it. But it turns out her father was obsessed with machines and started experimenting on his daughter. Asshole.
Yeah, so he puts a mechanical voice box in her. God. Which gives me hope my hope was delivered upon in the next episode. So, yeah.
And when that did happen in the next episode, I did crack up there because I was like, that's awesome. So the princess ends up boarding the ship with Dorothy along with her. But they won't let Dorothy board at first, but then she, uses her sexy body to mess with the sailor and says she can't hold it any longer. She needs to go to the bathroom and whatnot. Meanwhile, Ange and Beatrice are posted up on top of a water fueling tower waiting. But Dorothy is in the bathroom and asks the sailor to please move away a little bit, since it would be embarrassing if he heard her. But she uses the opportunity to sneak into the ductwork, and what she eventually does is go to a valve somewhere that apparently also is connected to this water tower and opens it up so they can get in. Then she eventually goes back to the bathroom and gets her way out. But then they start using the water tower, and Beatrice falls in, and Ange has to jump in to save her, and they do end up on the other side eventually.
Yeah, Beatrice is just kind of being annoying the whole time. She's she gets pulled in by accident.
She's I'll never help spies.
Yeah.
Wait, I can't get more. I'll never help spies.
Yeah, that's more like it.
I can't get that high, man.
Nobody can.
Ange explains the plan to her. Once they get the plates, they'll parachute out. And that's when she's I'll never help a spy. And Ange is well, you have to help me now, because if you get caught, you will crack, and then they will find out the princess is a spy, and that's all on you. And she's oh, shit. But the girls make it their way to the communication room, and Ange does some 1960s spy hacking, starts listening to everybody on the telephone/airwaves. She ends up finding the line she wants and listens to the captain in charge of transporting the plates. Ange can hear ammunition rounds in the background and knows she needs to make her way to the gun room where the captain is. But the gun room is really far away, so she decides to climb on the outside of the gun room using her cavarette. That's what they call it. That little green glowy thing.
Okay.
But before she goes out, she attaches a line. And she's climbing out the side of the ship, and the ship gets struck by lightning, which electrocutes her, and she's unconscious, dangling from the edge. And some of the soldiers see her, and they sound. This is weird what happens here. They sound an alarm, because they thought they saw somebody. The captain comes down. He's like, it's preposterous. There's no way there's somebody on the outside. Turn off the sirens. But then there's a whole pursuit anyways.
Yeah, like there's officers who just literally see her and start shooting. And at that point, the captain would probably have to believe something is going on, right? You know, it's kind of dumb.
But then there's just her running down the side of the ship, dodging insane amounts of bullets. And she eventually like makes it to the hatchway where the guys are. And she does some fancy stuff and gets down on the inside. But Beatrice, back up at the ship, is they know where she's at, and they're like getting ready to blast the door with a cannon. So she jumps on the line and goes ahead and rappels all the way down it to where Ainge is. But unbeknownst to her, Ainge is down there currently fighting. And when that tension's on that rope, that pulls her back, and it looks like she got the final, like she's going to get her wrecked or whatever. But then it cuts away back to Beatrice, who does land in the room, and it's like destroyed. Everything's in flames. She spots Ainge sitting against a wall injured. Ainge tells her to take the place and go since there's only one parachute left. Some of the crew arrive and can't get the door open, so they decide to blow it. But Beatrice changes her voice so that to that of the majors and tells him he is okay not to blow the door. One of the crew is still suspicious and says he is Sergeant Stewart, and asks the major how his day went yesterday. Because Ainge heard the conversations earlier, and we know she's practically superhuman, she tells Beatrice it's actually Corporal Henry instead, and he is going to propose tomorrow. And she, relays that back to him and, avoids that whole disaster. The two strap together with one parachute, and hopefully her cabaret holds together before they land. Because in an earlier scene, like when she was unconscious, it's just sitting there going the whole time. It's like cracking and stuff. Mm-hmm. And of course they land. It's okay. But what's important about this episode is now Ainge and Beatrice have a better understanding of each other, and Beatrice has come around to this whole spy thing finally. And also, why do I love this ED so much? It's so catchy.
I love both. I love the OP and the ED.
Oh, the OP and OD, yeah. If there's going to be a show that you weighed both the OPs and the EDs, this one's probably going to crush everybody else this season.
So I had a couple complaints with this episode, mostly surrounding like Beatrice's character. Like she didn't bother me as much the first couple episodes because she was like in small doses. Mm-hmm. But now that she had like all this screen time, like her screechy, lowly voice was just getting to me.
Yeah, well, they're going to take care of that next episode.
Yeah,
I think this is like her character introduction. Like the first episode was kind of Ainge's mostly, I would say, and the second episode was more Dorothy.
Yeah, definitely.
So this one's is Beatrice's, and the Princesses has also been peppered in there as long as Ainge's still. So I feel like now, since they kind of got her episode down, it won't be so bad anymore.
Yeah, I was just thinking like her ability to change her voice is so useful, but like she literally can choose any voice, and she chooses this screechy lowly voice as her normal voice, and I was like, this is so annoying. And then like when they were on the ship, they're like trying to infiltrate, and she just keeps yelling at like the top of her voice as they're trying to like sneak into the ship, and like some guards come and notice like, hey, who's there, and then they have to like sneak by. Anyway, but
why does one of our comrades sound like a little girl?
Exactly. And like I was thinking this whole episode, like, if one of the other girls can just discover a way to turn off Beatrice's voice mechanically with like Cavorite or something, I would be so happy. I hope they do that.
They didn't even have to go that far.
And the other thing that annoyed me was like, so when Ange is running around the outside of the ship, like she's getting shot at by like hundreds of bullets, and I was like, there's no way she could dodge every single one of those bullets. Like, so like my headcanon had to be like maybe the Cavorite like bends the bullets around her or something, but then
they would have like animated that,
yeah, it just seemed like over the top. Like, not as many bullets, we still get the point, just calm down. So episode 4, which is called Roaming Pigeons. So this episode is again a flashback to when Dorothy was tasked with stealing a sea ball, or a Cavorite ball prototype, from the Kingdom. So we see the Kingdom testing the technology in the first scene, and also a male spy from the Commonwealth using a camera installed in like a book spine to capture like this image happening. And so the Commonwealth spy leader L also tells Dorothy like something for her own ears as he gives her the mission, but we don't know what that is until later. I don't really. I guess it's just to put suspense up there, but you could have told us now and it would change nothing.
So
Yeah. So Chisei is also back in the picture this episode. And at first I was like, wow, they didn't do any like introduction or like fanfare for how she got there, but that came later. So the girls are like all practicing tailing each other, and Beatrice is terrible at it, of course. But they like use this technique where like one of them sits on the other's shoulders and they can pretend to be like a big guy, like as long as they have like a mask. And so that comes up later as well. So they get the mission. They all dress up in pretty fluffy dresses and drive to the ceremony together at the kingdom. And this ceremony is like, I don't know what the ceremony was. It was to like celebrate the mine, or like the Cavorite mine, like discovering new technology or something. I don't know.
Something like that. But what's important is it's being held at the mine.
Yeah. So the princess and Chisei stay behind up at the ceremony while Dorothy, Ange, and Beatrice run off to steal this sea ball prototype. So Dorothy steals like the first key they need and helps the other two sneak by a guard using her like it's kind of getting old, but like her main spy tactic is just being drunken, sexy woman with a guard. And I was like, this is why you always need two guards. So there's one guard that's jealous that she's hitting on the other guard.
Well, I mean, that's her thing. She's the honeypot. Yeah. You know? Mm-hmm. I mean, she's got the body for it too, so whatever.
I guess so. So yeah, she's older than the other ones. So Ange and Beatrice get by two more guards by having Beatrice do the thing where she sits on top of Ange's soldiers and appears like a tall guard, and they have like a gas mask on her face. And so with a deep voice, like she tells them, like they set off a smoke grenade and they're like, a methane explosion happened, and the guards run off to do something and they get by. Back upstairs, we find out that this is sort of Chisei's introduction episode, because she's standing with a man who approaches her at the ceremony, and we later find out his name is Lord Horikawa, so I'm assuming he's sort of like some head of the Japanese spy team, and he's telling Chisei, like, we need to decide here, like, who we can trust, the kingdom or the Commonwealth, so they haven't really taken sides at this point. The princess, meanwhile, is speaking with her grandmother, who's royalty, and the possibility of a marriage comes up to a Russian prince, because like her grandmother's advisor thinks it's about time for the princess to be married off so they can stabilize the kingdom and all of Europe. But the grandmother is against
14.
Yeah, she's pretty young. I don't know, like 13, 14, I guess. Yeah. Meanwhile,
at best 16.
Yeah, at best. It seems Ange is so Ange uses her own like Cavorite or whatever. I was confused at first because I was like, wait, are they did the kingdom invent the first Cavorite ball and they're stealing it now? Like, or did they? I think at the end of the episode I came to the conclusion that the Commonwealth has already discovered this Cavorite ball technology.
That's what I assumed also.
Yeah, and they're trying to stop the kingdom from perfecting it too, and that's what this mission is about. So, yeah. Otherwise, like Ange would have stolen the sea ball and then like done a whole bunch of acrobatics for the first time ever using one, and that didn't make any sense to me. So it only makes sense the other way. So
I mean, she had it last episode, and I think we're going chronologically now between episodes.
Sort of like flashbacks, yeah.
Like 2, 3, and 4 are like chronological flashbacks. Episode 1 was before all this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she flawlessly jumps between a bunch of mechanical equipment and gears and drops herself down this exhaust fan and into the mines. So then we find out, it turns out the message that Elle, the spy master, gave Dorothy at the beginning of the episode was that this mission is going to deal a major blow to the kingdom. So if the princess is a double agent, she would likely act and intervene and cause it to go awry somehow. So Ange finds the laboratory, but all of the equipment has been moved. So she does this cool thing with her sea ball where she like throws it into the middle of the room and shoots it. And then it like kind of spreads out all these green like lights, and it reconfigures, like it shows her like that there was a bunch of heavy equipment and machinery in this room and that it's been taken out above her basically. So it's been like lifted up this huge silo outside. So she tells the rest of the girls, they all leave the ceremony and they go get in their car and they chase down the river because they think the sea ball and all the equipment and the scientists are escaping by boat. And so like what we find out that what tipped the kingdom off was that they found that hidden camera in a book spine that the spy had used at the beginning of the episode. So the girls continue to drive like really aggressively and recklessly in their car, and Beatrice can't handle it. Like, she's just screaming and wailing like the entire way. Like, all of the other girls are just like, oh, this is fine. And then Ange, like a true MVP, does exactly what he wanted. She just reaches inside Beatrice's throat and just mutes her. And I was so happy because I've been getting so annoyed at Beatrice's voice.
Oh, yeah, I thought she reached around to the back of her neck and there was like one of those turn keys and she just turned it.
I think, well, every time Beatrice changes her voice, she reaches like literally inside her throat. I don't know. I didn't pay much attention because I was like whooping and hollering in like excitement at this because exactly what I wanted happened. So anyway, they arrive at a bridge and the boat is going to pass under. And they're about to like leave Chisei and the princess behind again. But Chisei is annoyed at them because like she's volunteered for this mission. She's their best fighter. They've even admitted it and she wants to go. But it becomes apparent that Ange wants to leave her behind because she's really just worried about the princess being in trouble, being in danger. But so the princess then steps up and says, like, I need to go on this mission because basically if she wants to go with them to ensure it succeeds, because if they fail, then it leads directly back to her. So it hurts her anyway. So it's like her responsibility. And Dorothy is like thinking of this in terms of what the spy master told her. She's like, if she was a double agent, there would be no reason to take such a big risk, and allows Princess to go with him. And I was like trying to work through her logic because I didn't quite agree with her at first. I was like, so if Princess is a double agent, then the kingdom knows she's working for them and would just protect her, just kill all the other spies. So what I'm guessing is that like if she's a double agent, she wouldn't want to risk burning her ties with the Commonwealth. So I think Dorothy could like rely on her to help them at least that far. But I don't even think Dorothy was thinking that deeply. But I think that's I don't know.
That's one of the things about double agents, or just spies in general.
Yeah.
They need to know when they need to prove to who where their loyalties lie. And sometimes that's hard to tell until you've seen the end game. So. Mm-hmm.
So Ange could very well still be playing both sides, but she goes with them. The ending part I felt was pretty rushed. They kind of split up and drop down into the ship. They extremely quickly take out all the guards. And even though there's like a million more guys on this ship than the 5 girls, they just take over the ship. And then they I assume they turn the boat around and go back up the river towards the Commonwealth or something. They really kind of gloss over it. They just say, we captured all the scientists. Like they're back at home. It's like, we captured all the scientists. It's like, okay, like, but what were the logistics of that? How did you get them all back?
Well, since nobody was in pursuit of them, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter if they either phoned their other guys and they came and picked them all up or they turned the boat around or whatever.
I just assumed there would be like kingdom military at checkpoints, like looking out for this boat since it was carrying like the most important technology in the country and like all these important scientists.
They were trying to be really secretive. They probably didn't want even too many of their own people to know.
That may be a good reason for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So also while taking over the ship, Ange and Charlotte, Princess Ange, who is also Ange, and then Ange, who we call Ange, but is actually Charlotte, have a conversation about how like the princess wishes Charlotte would be more like how she used to be and treat her as a friend and an equal. But Charlotte just hates the girl that she used to be. So it's just like a little bit more backstory on them. And then the girls, for whatever reason, decide that their name will be White Pigeon. For their team. I think it was like a biblical thing, like Noah sent a pigeon to survey the land from the ark. So that represents spies. And
that was their reasoning. I was just like, okay.
Yeah, this show continues to be like pretty awesome though. Like I like the action scenes and stuff. I just was so happy that Beatrice got muted because that really needed to happen. Like,
yeah, even though they're little moe girls, it's like really cool. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a problem with it at all.
All right, so let's move on. Next show on Tuesday is Restaurant to Another World. Episode 3 is Spaghetti with Meat Sauce / Chocolate Parfait. So first half of the episode, there's this guy. His name is Thomas Alfad. He's an older man, and he has a grandson named Sirius. And they're the 2 new customers this time at Nekoya, though Thomas has been going there for a long time. He's taken his grandson for the first time. So Thomas is kind of sneaky. He's grown his own like restaurant and food business in his world with a mutually beneficial deal with the chef of Nekoya. So basically what he does is he takes like ingredients from his own world and gives them to the chef, and then the chef like uses them to make sure that he's serving good food for like their palate, since he says like, oh, all of my cuisine is influenced by Japanese palate, so I need to understand like your food and the way they taste so I can better serve you.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah.
But at the same time, so the chef also pays him in like jewels from like the various people who pay him who come to his restaurant for these ingredients. But at the same time, Thomas has been stealing the recipes from the chef's restaurant and bringing them back to his own world and using those recipes to become like this famous genius of culinary innovation, basically.
He owns up to it, though, to his grandson.
Yeah, so his grandson starts eating the food, and they order a dish of spaghetti with meat sauce, and the grandson is like blown away by how good it is. But like one of the things he notices is that it's made with like this kind of vegetable that they've only started growing like recently, and they haven't put it in any of their dishes yet. So he's like, how can this be? How can they have this taste? And his grandfather's like, he admits like what's going on. And he's like, I'm counting on you, Sirius, to carry on the family business.
No, he's like, no, I'm a total sham. But he presents it as like, he did not do any of this for fame and glory. He did this literally to get all this great food and ingredients out there. So,
yeah, he literally just says like, I just wanted to taste this food in our world as well. Like that was his main motivator. Even if it gave him fame and money, like that's the main thing behind it.
That was just a byproduct of what happened.
Yeah. So I liked that first half of the episode. I like spaghetti and meat sauce. I'm glad they didn't do spaghetti Napolitan, like that Japanese spaghetti that's made with ketchup, because I would have been like, please God, no.
This show's fancier than that.
Yeah, so the second half of the episode focuses on this young princess named Adelheid, whose grandfather showed her Nekoya when she was young. I think the grandfather was like an emperor of an empire, or like small empire or something. But she doesn't remember much about eating there, except that she ate clouds. And so we also get to meet, like, when she's a little girl, like, and she goes there, she went there when the former chef of Nekoya, the current chef's grandfather, was there. And so we kind of meet him, and he seems like a really nice guy. Now grown up a bit more, she has this disease called Pauper's Killer's disease, which has caused her to have this, like, cough, and she feels like weak, but apparently it's not that bad. She can just survive it with rest and recuperation, but she's not doing so well. But the Nekoya door opens in her grandfather's old room in the castle, and she goes through and she doesn't know what to order, and so she just orders clouds. And Aletta's like, I don't know what that is, I'll ask the chef. And he remembers her. So what she remembered as clouds were a chocolate parfait. Basically,
surprised me, because when they said clouds, I was like, cotton candy?
Or like marshmallow or something?
Yeah, like ice cream's like a little too thick to be clouds. But
yeah, so basically the way her grandfather had described it was like the ice cream was like a winter cloud, and then there was plenty of snow on top. Basically meaning like the whipped cream was like the snow on top of like the winter clouds. And she just eats her parfait. It looks delicious, and that's basically the episode.
Yep. This is a fun little series. But
yes.
All right, episode 4, omelet rice and tofu steak. Our newest guest is a blue lizard man named Gaganpo. He has fought his way to the top of his tribe ever since he was young, and his door appeared one day 30 years ago in an open area that is now a shrine currently for him. Every week, the strongest warrior in the tribe goes through the door to bring back food from the other world. And I guess he always orders 3 large omelet rices to go and 1 or 2 for himself to eat while he's at the restaurant. This whole time, there's like this woman narrating and is doing it like it's like a straight up documentary. Like I'm sitting here watching. It's like I'm watching like Nat Geo or something while she's doing it. Did you get that vibe too?
Yeah, now that I didn't think about it until you just mentioned it, but like it totally is like a nature documentary. It's really funny.
Oh yeah, like I'm watching she's telling me about ant colonies now in Africa or something. I swear. But what's kind of cool is like out of the 3 omelets he brings back, all are different. The first one has a finely chopped meat seasoned only with salt and pepper. The second one is a cheese and bacon omelet.
That was like oozing out of there too.
And the last one, which really caught my attention, was filled with a white cream sauce and like shrimp. What do they call it? Shrimp or something?
They call it shripe in their world.
Shripe. Yeah, but it's shrimp. I don't know. There may be a difference. I'm not aware of it.
It's just the word they have in their world for shrimp.
Yeah. That one really caught my attention because like the other 2, I've had almost like that, but not like this one.
Yeah,
it sounds like it would work very well.
I just liked the way that the lizards like smacked their tails on the ground when they approved of eating like the stuff. It was funny.
That was cool. But our second guest is a blonde elf named Fardania, who set out hunting and gathering when she stumbled upon the door. And she actually only finds the door because she can sense magic, and what she sensed was teleportation magic coming from it. And like when she arrives to the place, she already has a couple of guests, like actually a bunch of the people from the last couple of episodes we've seen. They're in there like ordering and whatnot. And she has a seat and she's like looking over the menu, and she looks around and notices like everybody's eating human food and is very barbaric.
Basically, they're eating meat, and she's like horrified. Yeah.
So she requests a dish that has no meat, fish, milk, or eggs. Yes, vegan. Got it. He doesn't have anything on the menu like that, but he can whip something up. So he ends up serving her a tofu steak with white rice. And like when she's eating it, she can't believe a human created something far better than the else can. And basically she goes back to her own world and encouraged her to make better dishes in the restaurant when she returns home. Yeah,
she's determined. And I like how she like runs around the forest and she has like 12 deer and rabbits running with her. It's really funny. Like typical wood elf fantasy thing.
Yeah.
Yep, both of those episodes were freaking delicious looking. Oh,
yeah, they can go with this trend and I'd be totally happy with it. Anything else?
No, let's move on to the next show.
What's your little comment here, Oishi?
Oishi, which because your comment on the first episode was yum, and I said oishi, which is basically the Japanese word for delicious or yum.
Or sugoi.
Sugoi. That means like super good. Yeah.
That one's like wow or blew my mind. Mm-hmm. But anyways, Sakura Quest. We're on Wednesdays now, by the way. Sakura Quest, episode 16, The Harlequin on the Pond. So yeah, I got some pretty short synopsis for these, so let us know if you like them, guys. Yoshino, Maki, and Sane are looking into why Kadata was drowning in the pond when they hear a crash. They run outside to find like Kadata behind the wheel of a crash van trying to pull something out of the lake. Next scene, we have Riri shows up with a picture the next day that has her grandma Kadata and Doku playing in a band together over 50 years ago. This was crazy to me.
I never would have expected this.
Yeah, so this is also where like Chitose, who is Riri's grandmother, first started like hating Kadata. But
I'll just say I liked their band nicknames. Kadata's name was Beef, and Chitose or Oribe's name was Olive, and Doku was called Poison, which makes a lot of sense to me.
But anyways, like the three of them planned to run away to Tokyo and try to make it big, but Kadata never showed up at the train station because he went to the festival and jumped on a boat with a shrine and started playing, and he like ended up causing the shrine to sink into the lake. And this is where the bad blood began between Kadata and Chitose. Mm-hmm. So the drying of the pond is turning out to be more popular than expected. The reason we find out that Kadata didn't show up at the station was because he didn't want to run away from the town and instead wanted to show people how much better it was. Riri telling her grandmother she liked her singing was like pretty cool and stuff because they went to where's his name, Doku's, and like he played one of their songs for them, like their most popular one, something about a rose. It was cool.
It was a good song.
Yeah, but then where did I go? There we went. Yeah. So it's kind of funny because Chitose advises Riri to like go out and experience the world before she gets old and doesn't care anymore like her.
Yeah.
Which was pretty funny. But then in the end, the girls like decide to revive the old festival, but are informed they need like 3 sacred treasures: the staff, the hanging drum, and the golden dragon statue.
So, I was going to say, I liked a couple things about this episode. Like, first, I liked how it informed us about like Kata's like crazy character, because the reason he's always pushing the town forward and trying new crazy ideas is all grounded in that decision 50 years ago to, instead of go to Tokyo, like stay behind, be loyal to his father who farmed Cabra, and like he couldn't leave his father behind, but he thought he could bring the town forward and make it a place that would accept him. And then I liked the continuation of the plot line between Ririko and Oribe, her grandmother or whatever, where like she realizes that Oribe lied to her when she said that she never thought about leaving Manayama, because clearly she was ready to go to Tokyo with her band, but she stayed behind.
It was her idea.
Yeah, it was like her whole push. Yeah. So
and
like,
a band of all things.
Yeah, exactly. So I just liked that we're learning more. We're learning that these old people are liars, and they had these crazy lives themselves many years ago. And it informs all the ways that they talk to the characters now throughout the series. And going back, you can see it inform their characters. So it's a really good episode.
Was that it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Episode 17, The Sphinx Antics. So the girls start their investigation into finding the 3 sacred treasures, but are basically finding no luck. They do finally get a lead on a man who like wrote a textbook on the festival and might have some ideas, but he lives like not far outside the country, the county. He like lives on the edge of the county or something. It's like not as rural where they are. It's more like the countryside. So they have to make like a little side trip in the car to go there. And they arrive, and like he keeps calling them monkeys for Japanese reasons. I don't know. But he does have an idea that one of the treasures is in a storeroom in one of the old houses, and like the girls leave, and then he goes to his own storehouse to show that like he has the golden dragon statue. And he comments with, I think I'll play a game with the 5 little monkeys. And I'm just like, what? Should I be worried?
I guess so.
Yes, I should, because I text you a pretty funny message, which I'll tack on the end here. But the town seems it will be eliminating one of its bus routes that goes to one of the less populated districts close by, which is the one they were just at. And the problem is obviously money, which is always, most of the problems. But this community on the country is mostly old people who can't drive themselves. So that's like the big problem. They're just like, how are we supposed to get around? And the government, for whatever reason, was out doing inspections and stuff, and it like left all the old people living alone tablets so they could do like health checkups and stuff. That was the initial idea. Mm-hmm. But of course, like they didn't show them how to use them. So like one of the guys just uses a flashlight. Another guy uses it to like steam his ramen. It's hilarious. But the girls decide to teach them, which sounds like an absolute nightmare. If anybody's ever had to help their grandma or grandpa or elderly person learn a technology, I mean, trying to get my grandma, every once in a while I get a call from my grandma because she's accidentally switched the input on her TV.
Oh, no.
And then, like, doing it over the phone is almost a nightmare. So I'll just drive the 10 minutes over there. I'll hang out with my grandma for a while, fix her TV, and then I'll drive 10 minutes back home.
Yeah, my grandma has like completely rejected technology. Like she won't use a computer. She barely uses television. So yeah.
See, my grandma likes her soap operas, so that's why she's always using TV. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also their idea behind teaching the old people how to use technology is also so the girls can broaden their search of the treasures. It's going to help them in fashion, But in true internet fashion, where you can hide behind a username, tensions like flare and like some of the old people fight. And then in the end, the old people take Yoshino hostage and declare their withdrawal from the Chupacabra kingdom through the newfound power of the internet. I was just like, what?
The internet started a revolution. What can I say?
And so you hadn't seen it yet, so I messaged you and I told you something like, all right, if I can give you a quick synopsis of episode 17, it would be old people discover the power of the internet and then take Yoshino hostage. And I know you had to be like, what the fuck?
I was like, how the fuck did this happen? So I like the whole subplot of this episode, which was basically about like rural transportation. And like, I was thinking like, so even the bus driver was kind of seeing like the progress with the tablets, and I think he was starting to put it together himself. Like, what they need to solve this problem is basically Uber, or well, the other thing that they could use is like self-driving cars, but that's not here yet. So, but if they could like request a pickup on their tablet to the bus driver, he would know when he actually has to go there, so he doesn't just go there randomly and spend
but he
all
has
this
a bus
money.
route.
He has a route, but maybe he could go out of his way, like when they schedule a pickup. And I don't know. I figured there has to be some way you can do this, like where it would work. But yeah, I mean, it's just technology could solve that problem. So it'd be interesting to see what they do in the next episode.
Yeah, but anytime he had to alter his route, it would change the times of one of the other stops. And that's just not something they can update all the time.
That's true.
The whole point of the bus routes is that they are on point.
Yeah. I mean, if you have electronic signboards, you could like say like, hey, this bus is 10 minutes late, but like nobody wants a 10 minutes late bus in Japan. So yeah, it's a tough problem to solve, but somebody has to solve it. So I don't know.
So, which is why they took somebody hostage.
Yeah. So let's move on to Thursday and gamers.
The biggest surprise show of the season, I think.
I think a lot of people think that now.
I'm pretty sure you and I I may have said this last time, but you and I had a discussion of like, well, this show's going to be shit, but I'm going to check it out.
Exactly. We
both watched it and went, oh.
Well, there wasn't even a PV, I think, for this. Remember, like, so we couldn't even see any of it, like, to know if it would
there was
bad.
nothing but like this little synopsis which told you the basic premise, nothing, which doesn't tell you anything about it. But
yeah. So we only have episode 3 this week because this started a week late, so there's no episode 4 out yet. So episode 3 is called Chiaki Hoshinomori and Street Pass Communication. So for no apparent reason, this episode starts off with a panty shot. Just like a quick one, like introducing a new character, I guess. The title of this episode is basically a pun that Keita makes when he tells Tasuku... like Tasuku tells Keita that like he should stop letting Karen pass him by because Keita's like, yeah, I sometimes see her out of the corner of my eye. I don't know what's going on. But Tasuku tells him like, stop letting her pass you by or else you regret it. And Keita asks like, oh, like that 3DS thing. And then Tasuku, but before he catches himself, is like, he said, oh yeah, like Street Pass. And he's like, they kind of like hold for like 5 seconds and just let people absorb that pun and then move on. So Tasuku is convinced like Keita needs some practice like before he'll be able to ask out Karen. So he has targeted some easier prey, and this girl is an otaku by the name of Chiaki Hoshinomori. She has this wild, like tangled blue hair, and she's very, very shy, but she's into video games. So Chiaki is in Karen's same class, and there is an amazing scene where Keita is like asking to come into the class and explaining to another student that no, I'm not interested in Tendo-san, nor do I have any business with her. And like when Karen hears this and sees that like Keita is like not only like not coming to see her, but like coming to see another girl, she like turns into a concrete statue and then disintegrates into dust that like flies away. But then even better, when he walks across the classroom, he steps on this dust as if she's still down on the floor, and like she makes noises as he steps on her. It's just such a great visual gag. It's so funny. So Keita and Chiaki, the girl with the blue hair, like basically hit it off when they both realized that they turned down the invitation to the gaming club for the same reasons. They both love games, but they don't want to be pressured in like a club that's competitive, and they can't, they just love games for their own reasons, basically. So they start to become close friends, and there's actually a good visual gag where, like, at first they're sitting like on a bench near a bus stop, and they're literally like 10 feet away from each other on this bench. And then Keita's like, we started to become slightly closer friends, and like a bus pulls by, and then they're sitting like 4 feet away from each other. It's like they're still pretty far apart. And so, unfortunately, though, even though they've become friends, they start to disagree on some like fundamental gaming questions. They just have like friendly gaming arguments that get like a little heated. So Tasuku tries to get in the middle of one of these arguments and break it up. And this is where the whole rest of this episode is about jealousy and misunderstandings starting. So Aguri, Tasuku's girlfriend, the pink-haired one, she spots Tasuku talking with Chiaki and Keita in the classroom, and she assumes that he's flirting with Chiaki. And to be fair, he kind of is. He's telling her that her hair would look much nicer if it was cut short, and if she took a little bit better care of her looks. At the same time, Karen is getting a piggyback ride from some other classmate to like look in the window, and she's fretting because it looks like Keita is getting really close with Chiaki. So Karen thinks like he's like getting interested in Chiaki, which is also there's some truth to that. So they all come to school the next day, and they hear this rumor of this like gorgeous girl who has come to school, and nobody knows who she is. And it turns out Chiaki gave herself a makeover based on Tasuku's advice and now looks super cute with short hair, and everybody is shocked. And Aguri spots Tasuku freaking out over her and obviously reads it the wrong way and starts like running away. Keita goes chasing after Aguri to try to cheer her up and explain what's actually going on. But Karen sees him chasing after Aguri, and she asks why he's chasing after her, and all he says is, you could say it's relationship drama, which again is very misleading. Poor Karen. She's like disappointed again. Keita asks Aguri to go to a cafe with him, and then even he thinks to himself, I can't shake the feeling that I've been hitting on everyone lately. So he goes to this cafe and explains to Aguri that what she saw wasn't really a relationship between Tasuku and Chiaki. And he like is rooting for her, and she smiles and she walks away for a second. And Keita's like, okay, thank God, that's handled. And so he invites his friend Mono, who is a person he's never met, to play like Grand Blue Fantasy with him again on his phone. And by coincidence and terrible timing, it turns out that Mono is Chiaki, and she happens to be right across the street from the cafe walking with Tasuku with her. Like, Tasuku has his hand on her shoulder as he's looking at the phone, probably seeing that she's playing with Keita. And like,
yeah, I want to say we were already kind of aware of this. Like,
yeah,
episode 2, maybe episode 1, we saw something like this.
Yeah, you could kind of figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Aguri, of course, comes back, sees Tasuku across the street with his hand on this girl's shoulder, drops her tray of drinks, and looks on in horror. Then there's this amazing camera shot of Keita as he turns to look and just going, it's so good. And the camera like zooms in on his eyeball and shows this image of the two across the street. It's just, this show continues to have awesome comedic timing and writing, and I'm just loving it. So
yeah, I agree with everything you said. The only other thing I can add is just going back to that opening scene.
Yeah, the panty shot. Yeah.
Well, I was just like, why was that even put in here?
It was so weird. It was just like such a random moment. I don't know. I guess it was to get your attention at the beginning of the episode. I don't know.
I was getting ready to say that, and if that's what it was for, then that's a good use of it.
I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, that's what his intention was. That's what it did. So, yeah, and I still love the use of like the video game noises used as like the sound effects in the show.
Yeah, especially like the middle like eye catch with like those like the art of like the people holding like a tablet or a phone behind their back, and
yeah,
I mean, it's cute. I like those sound effects.
All right, did you say we were on Thursdays?
We are on Thursdays. Yeah.
Yeah. So, convenience store boyfriends, episode 3, June. If you haven't figured it out yet, we're going by the months. So Haruki is running to school because he's late and runs into the back of Sumi at the school. And we also notice in this quick scene there's a red blemish on Sumi's face next to his mouth. later on, like Toa goes to Haruki in class because of something he saw. What he saw was Haruki's crush, Miharu. There's a lot of me's in this show.
Yeah, I complained about that later. I was just going to say, like, the two main girls are named... I wrote it down somewhere. They're like Miharu and Mihashi.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, God, could they not have done, like, slightly different names?
It almost killed me when I started doing episode 4 because I had to keep looking at my anime list because there's like three or four of them were like me's, and I'm like, ooh. So, yeah, but anyways, Haruki isn't like really bothered by seeing his crush talking to another boy. He's like, whatever. People talk to people. It's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. Haruki comes across Asumi and a couple other track members having an argument. Like the other members are ganging up on Asumi, and like a long-haired beauty, which is, if you watch the OP, is about the only character we have not been introduced to yet for the most part.
Yeah.
Or at least given a name. But she's just a long-haired beauty, and she's also standing there next to Haruki, and then like she walks by and drops her books, basically causing a scene right next to all of them, and like Haruki comes in to help her clean it up. And then like the track guys leave because he like the whole mentality of the situation is broken or whatever. But then Toa sees the guy that was meeting up with Miharu and stalks him to one of the classrooms. And like Mommy finds him. And yeah, that's the other girl with the me name. I need to switch to either the first or last names. The show and the show kind of goes back and forth. So I just write down what they say sometimes. So Mommy finds him, and then those two are startled by Nozomi, who comes up behind them, and then they introduce him to the guy inside, and that guy's name is Nasa.
I was like, NASA? Like, does he go to space? He looks pretty spaced out.
You gotta use the Japanese pronunciation.
I know. I was just like read it as NASA at first. I was like, oh wait, no, it's probably NASA.
And he's just a really good cook, and like Nozomi is like totally obsessed with him and his cooking specifically. But the student council showed up at that last confrontation with Asumi and Haruki, and Asumi gets punished by having to help out with the sports festival. And then the student council just lumps Haruki in as well because they need the volunteers. That was their literal excuse, and they were upfront about it. Talk about abuse of power, am I right?
Yeah, that was pretty messed up.
So, like, Asumi and Haruki bond a little bit and serving their punishment by talking about sports they practice, Cool. And, like, Toa is, like, hiding when he visits the hospital in the mornings. And Haruki finds out Miharu has been paying attention to him since middle school, also in another scene. That's basically what's just important about the last part of that. And he's just like, what? You noticed me that long? Whoa, dude. It's totally gnarly. And you're just going to pounce on me about me talking about good background, so go for it.
I'm not going to be mean about this, actually. So, like, I wasn't that interested in the actual, like, content of this episode. Because
I don't think they've been as good as they were the first episode. Like, the first episode, like, that first 5 minutes, like, totally grabbed my attention.
Yeah, even I would agree that, like, this was just, like, a little bit of a slower episode that I didn't buy into it as much. Like, the next episode was better. But, so, because I wasn't, like, paying that much attention to, like, the story, I was looking at like what was on screen, and I wanted to give like a better detail of why I thought certain things in this and it's like certain animated things and certain background art in this series were like subpar or like just average and not like amazing. So what I did is like I went through our Google Doc and I took a couple pictures of like the front of the school from this episode and like the hallways in the school and like the convenience store, and I compared them with pictures from shows from KyoAni, so like K-On! And Hibike Euphonium, and like just basically in general, like the school like looks very computer generated in this show. Like it's very like rectangular objects very often, and like it looks like a lot of stuff could be copied and pasted. I actually noted there's at the beginning of episode 4 they use like the exact same front of the school shot from episode 3 again. And I was like, oh, I only noticed this because I just took a screenshot of this, but it's like literally the exact same shot. And I was like, that's kind of disappointing that they're reusing this artwork when it's not even that great. But I did note that the one thing that looked better in this show, in my opinion, than in Hibike Euphonium was the convenience store. And I was like, well, the show is called Convenience Store Boyfriends, so they better have a nice looking convenience store. And they do. It looks really good.
Even if it didn't beat the other ones, it should still look really good.
Yeah. And I'm comparing it against like there's a photo of the school hallway in K-On!, which is like maybe one of the most detailed school hallways in any anime. But even so,
comparing it to like the best,
like the Titans, like, yeah. So that's why, like, when you say it looks great, I'm like, well, it looks good, but it's not like top tier. So that's all I wanted to say about that. It's just I was like looking at some of this stuff, and some of the shots look pretty bland, but other shots in the show look good. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. So episode 4, and if you guessed July, you're correct. So it seems the high school sports festival is about to begin, as per every Japanese school. The classes have to choose to be in each class gets to choose who's in what events. And Honda worms his way into doing the 3-legged race with Mihashi, but he actually has a pretty good excuse because she's not doing anything else and nobody's volunteering. So, I mean, good on him. But Mihashi is initially against it because she doesn't think she is athletic, which was her big deal. So they decided to practice, and, you know, Mihashi gets a little more confidence from that because they're going to go practice now. And we also find out Mishiki, as when I get into the me's and the ma's, it's Mishiki.
Good luck.
Sorry. Oops. There we go. Fix that. Mishiki. She can't participate in anything because she's not supposed to do strenuous activities. I'm immediately left to assume she has basically a heart condition. She can't get her heart rate up. And I don't know where my mind is, but my first thought about that was, oh, that sucks for Haruki, because when he gets with her, how are they going to have sex?
Oh, no.
If she can't get her heart.
It's the first place your mind went. That's funny.
Well, also, I'm thinking of long term here.
Okay, yeah.
So this is a long-term thing. Don't immediately pose perversion. I'm looking at long-term here. I'm like, that's kind of a problem. You're just like Hime from Centaur's life. If you're thinking long-term, like, yeah,
is this boy going to see my cow vagina?
This is something that's eventually going to happen if you're having a relationship. So, you know, think about it now. Plan for it, you know, now, so that when later it comes around, you're more prepared. But anyways.
Yeah, because they defunded planned centaurhood in that world.
Oh God.
Okay, please continue.
Honda and Mihashi continue their training, and one day when Honda is late, he sees Mihashi on the phone with somebody saying she will call when she is on her way home. This does nothing else the rest of the episode, and what the point of that was, like, she was talking, I just assumed she was talking to her parents, and, like, you know, she's like intentionally putting special time away for this event because she actually secretly likes Honda, which is pretty obvious by the end of the episode.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually they move to like the real thing in the training when they tie their legs together, and Honda has to put his armor like around her shoulders, and like it really embarrasses her. But then she kind of soldiers past it, and Honda like stands there patiently waiting, and, you know, gives her time. And they start her run, and when she trips, Honda catches her, and she gets like extra shy. It's like super adorable. I love it.
It is adorable. I agree.
Those two are probably my favorite relationship of the whole thing, because it's actually, out of all of them, showing lots of progression every single episode.
Yeah, and this 3-legged race was a great way to get them to resolve their like space issues and stuff, you know. So it was good.
Because initially she wanted him to stop touching her so much, but this is a situation where they have to touch, but it's not in a sexual or perceived manner. So, yeah. Asumi and Mishima, there's the more me's. That's the H guy. I forget the name. I'm scrolling back up.
Haruki.
They're sent out to like buy refreshments for the support club, and Mishima uses the opportunity to be like extra nice to Mishiki. And Mishiki has also been making like charms for the entire class, and all the work is starting to like wear on her. And this was from the last episode where like they suggested, you know, oh, this is how you could contribute, because she doesn't feel like she contributes. But Come the day of, she delivers in the end and arrives at the sport events with special charms for the whole class. But she even made special charms for Honda, Mishima, and Mihashi. So, ooh. And also, Nasama like made bentos for everybody, and he recruits Mashiki to help hand them out since she kind of feels like she isn't contributing even enough at this point. So that was kind of neat. The three-legged race event starts, and they just immediately cut to the end where they place fourth, which I'm totally fine with. Yeah. We don't need animation of them just running around the track.
Though it would be glorious.
This is not a sports anime.
It would be glorious to see, though.
So, I mean, they placed fourth, so they did really well. I mean, really. Mm-hmm. But Mishima and Mashiki walk home together and get caught in the rain, forcing him to like take shelter in a small shrine. And it's also kind of cold, so he gives her jacket so she stays warm. And I did not I saw her look in her bag, but I didn't know why she reacted the way she did. But you caught it. It was because she had an umbrella.
Yeah, I think she had like the same gray umbrella as before in her bag, but she zipped it back up because she's like, if I take out this umbrella, I won't get to stay with him a little longer under this little pagoda. And I think also he gave her the jacket because like her shirt was getting a little bit soaked through, so it was a little see-through. And so not just to keep her warm, but also to like keep her covered up and like dignified and stuff. It was cute.
That's how you be smooth.
Oh yeah.
But they both blushed, and I thought it was kind of cute. And I honestly started having a little bit of regrets about this episode. I thought it was kind of boring.
Mm-hmm. I liked this episode more than episode 3, though. But yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I liked the three-legged race stuff. I thought all those moments between those two characters were really cute.
That was my thing. The moments between Honda and Mihashi, I felt like I could have done without everything else in the episode.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, like it was the redeeming part of the episode for sure. So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, hopefully it'll get better as it goes forward. Like,
yeah, and I'm just saying it's I'm not saying I'm regretting the entire thing completely. I just mean like I watched this episode and I'm like, man, if they keep doing what they did this episode, then yeah, I'm going to regret it. And I'm going to re-advise maybe rethinking something else for when we hit the halfway point. But
yeah. All right,
we can move on to Fridays.
All right, we got Rage of Bahamut, Virgin Soul, and
woo! And as much as I love this series, I have some serious issues with this episode.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So episode 16 is City of the Gods part 2. So part 2 to the previous episode. So L is still sulking around because no one understands him. And he's in his teenage angel rebellious years.
If this is initially what they're going for, they nailed it. Holy shit.
They definitely did. Nina comes to visit, and she gets into this like raucous discussion with Bacchus over why he actually left heaven. And Bacchus claims he just wasn't into being pampered as a god and blew the joint. But Hamza says it's actually because he had a crush on a human woman and chased after her. So eventually they fall asleep, though, and Elle takes Nina's robe and, like, I guess some of her clothes, too?
All of her clothes. This is where my issue starts.
How did he do this?
And later in this episode, he's in her full getup.
Yeah, because he has,
the
like,
whole
the
chest plate with the boobs.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything. So they fell asleep. He stripped Nina naked. Took her clothes off, put his clothes on her, and then put her clothes on him.
Look, he is a very powerful angel.
Apparently, which is, I would want to say super effing creepy, but Elle's character, this wouldn't be creepy. This is totally like he didn't ogle at her when he undressed her. He just undressed her because he wanted her fucking clothes.
Yeah, we don't even see him undress her at all. Like, yeah.
No, like you wouldn't notice. I don't think if I didn't bring it up or the viewers didn't notice it. But yeah, he undressed her. He had to, unless she undressed herself before she went to sleep. But I feel like more like they passed out in their clothes No, she woke up in his clothes. That's right.
No. Like she had his clothes on. Also, she looked
woke
really
up
good in his clothes first.
And I was
thank
just
you,
like,
Elle.
what the fuck? Not to mention those guards are inept as fuck. Give me a break.
Yeah,
There's no way they wouldn't check.
He just walks past the guards, doesn't say anything, and just easily escapes. And
and I was like, I'm sorry, I can't suspend my sense of disbelief that far.
Meanwhile,
my big problem.
While this is happening to Nina in her sleep, she's having a nightmare depicting her conflicting emotions about Cherios and their large height difference. It's so funny. Like in the dream, like he's like towering over her, and she's like, "Should I jump to kiss him? What do I do?" And then basically, she wakes up after like he turns back into his evil self, and like she figures out what happened. She wakes up Bacchus and Hamsa, and they go running after Elle. So, meanwhile, Kaiser is sentenced to death by fighting in the arena, and his opponent is Azazel. And so we go back. Nina, Bacchus, and Hamsa they sneak out pretending that Nina is Elle since she's in his clothes, and they head for the hippogriff where they believe that Elle would have gone to try and escape the heavens. But Elle has found like a bunch of hippogriff carriages, but they all look the same, so he doesn't know which one is the one that he knows. So there's back at the arena, Favreau is sitting. He's disguised in the crowd, and he watches as Azazel and Kaiser are battling each other with swords. Kaiser is mainly staying on the defensive, and Azazel asks him why, and he's like, "It's hard to attack. I only have one hand." And Azazel tells him, "Well, you better kill me if you want to live." So there's a cute scene where Nina spots Elle and silently mouths and gestures to Bacchus and Hamsa the plan to surprise capture him, which basically involves them like all timing like themselves together, and she's going to jump on Elle and they'll all rush in and get him. But they don't really understand the timing part, even though they smile and give each other a thumbs up. So like they all end up trying to jump on Elle at the same time, and instead all crash into each other and collapse in a heap. And then Elle just flies away, and they start running after him again. Back to the arena, Azazel has disarmed Kaiser, and it looks like it's basically all over for him. And the arena crowd is chanting for him to land the killing blow. So Azazel swings the sword, but Favreau yells from the crowd and throws a little ball towards Kaiser. Kaiser like dives forward with the distraction, retrieves his sword, and then reaches out to grab what is actually Rocky, his left hand, which like smoothly reattaches to his arm. And now he's fighting with two real hands. And using the surprise, he runs Azazel through with his sword, but he also refuses to finish off Azazel. So at this point, Favreau runs out into the arena. He takes several guards out with his pistol, and then he uses smoke bombs to cover the entire arena with clouds of smoke, and they escape. And Cherios kind of just smiles as he sees this. He's just kind of entertained by it. So Nina continues chasing after Elle on like this floating angel platform, and she gets really close, and she jumps to try to grab him, but she misses and starts falling into the void, and Elle realizes he has to save her, so he dives after her and catches her, but they break through into that lightning storm barrier that they had come through on top of the dragon before. And Sophil asks Bacchus up above, like, if he's insane for letting Elle escape. And Bacchus is like to Hamsa, like, they're going to kill us. We just got to get out of here. So they jump off and he whistles, and the hippogriff carriage, like, comes up underneath them. And then they fly down through the barrier, and they pick up Nina and Elle mid-flight. And they all make it back through to the world. And then Elle like declares like, I'm still determined to bring peace to this world. It's not even about fighting. And they ask him like, but what about your mother? What about Jean? And he says, I'm doing this for her sake too. And they all head back towards the capital. And then after the credits, there's a great scene. Favreau, Kaiser, and Azazel meet up with Rita, and Rita asks for Rocky back and like tells him he did a good job. And then Kaiser like implores Azazel, like, please come help us. Please help us stop Cherios' weapon. It's going to destroy all the demons too. Don't you want to save them?
I just had a twisted thought.
Oh, what?
The hand. What's this called?
Rocky.
Rocky. It's Kaiser's old hand, right?
Yes.
Do you think she uses it for immoral reasons?
Oh God, the Dojins are writing themselves.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So Azazel says, like, I won't take your charity, but he also just goes with them after he's been convinced. And then it's funny, Favreau is like, okay, well, I'm just going to head off now. And then Kaiser, like, grabs him and gives him a look that says like, "Nah, we're in this together, old buddy." And that's the end of the episode. So you had a couple issues with this episode.
Yeah, that was initially that just the whole scene of him escaping. And then also, once he escaped, why did they not inform the gods immediately? The blame would immediately gone to the guards at the door.
So I disagree with you, because who would you blame more? The guards who were tricked by a disguise, or the people who were inside? The people who are inside who have been tasked with guarding them.
They didn't intentionally let them escape. He wasn't in a prison. He was just in a locked room with guards, so that if he tried to escape, which is their whole purpose for being there.
This is true. I mean, like, both of them
if
take blame.
If they had intentionally helped him escape, yes. But if he escaped on his own and they didn't leave until I'm assuming hours or an hour later, that's a different story.
I don't know.
It's all on the guards.
Yeah, I think it's on both of them, but it is a lot on the guards. Like, the guards were pretty stupid, for sure.
Well, even then, if the gods allowed them to go in, that would be on the gods themselves.
Yeah.
Giving them the opportunity to do whatever the fuck they did. I mean, come on.
Okay, yeah. I see your point, yeah.
All right, episode 17, they do the name drop. Virgin Souls. Good call. We begin with like Charios meeting with the Onyx task force captain when he orders the Red Dragon to be killed on sight. Not the captain, the Charios. And the captain is like suspicious. He asks if there's anything else he should know about the dragon, and Charios is like, no.
Yeah.
But he's like, But the gods decide to send a search party after Il because they need him badly, and John volunteers to go also, but Gabrielle's against it.
Sophia. Yeah, you're right. Gabrielle. Sorry. I thought it was Sophia for a second. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Gabrielle's against it, and John's like, gives her the middle finger and basically leaves anyways. I'm going to go help. Don't worry about it. But then like the little angel with the glasses, like shocked to see Gabrielle clenching her fists in rage, which is crazy. But Rita and Bacchus and Hamza Jesus Christ. Bacchus, Hamza, Nina, and Elle got back to Earth, and they're kind of snooping around, but then like Rita finds them, and Rita's in this awesome ass getup.
So look this up. Apparently Rita is dressed up as a character from the original game called Devil Princess. So she's kind of cosplaying as this Devil Princess, and it's like her. Yeah, it's her disguise. She's not
from the game Devil Princess. She's from the game Rage of Bahamut.
Yeah,
her game character is called Devil Princess.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, she's basically cosplaying as a character from the original game.
Yeah.
It's like a little.
I don't remember this character when I used to play. So
yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, but I saw this and I love this, and I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. Even when she dresses Nina up later, did you find out if she was dressed up as somebody else?
I couldn't see if she was dressed by anybody as anyone else, but she looked like a little demon too, but super cute.
All right, we'll get to that. But Rita finds him, takes him back to the hideout where everybody else is, and like they have a little powwow and decide they need to do something to stop Charios from being able to fire this weapon again. Fortunately, Rita saw that the bracelet was reacting to the device, so as their first measure, they decided to gather information for now. And Jean is like she's on the edge of like one of the platforms in the God Sky. She's having this conversation with Sophia, and then she just rashly jumps. And of course, Sophia jumps after her and she saves her, but it was all part of John's plan because she knew Sophia wouldn't let her die. And in the same instance, also got her back to the home world. And then Jean does convince Sophia to help her look for Elle since they saved her life once before, back in many episodes ago. It's so awesome how Rita dresses Nina up as a demon also, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I have two screens right now in front of me, and I want Rita on one and I want Nina on the other because they're so awesome.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, and like she's super happy, and she like goes skipping away and just suddenly comes across Charios in his disguise at the graveyard from an earlier episode. She's like spying on him. She accidentally topples over a gravestone, And he turns around. He's like, what the heck? And she's like, I'm a demon. And whose grave is that he's looking at? And it turns out it's his mother's. And Charios knows it's Nina, like right away. He's just playing along with her. But as you point out, yes, obviously if his mother was thrown away once he was born, his mother was a concubine and she ended up dying as a poor lady. And one of Bahamut's attacks is actually what killed his mother and also Nina's father. So they can relate on that note. And like Charios asks if she's a demon from the slums and asks if she can give him a tour of them. And then like during the tour, Nina thinks he has to realize she's thinking that he has to realize it's her. And then when she suddenly notices he's not standing next to her, he's actually stopped at a stand that's just selling like a bunch of trinkets. He buys one and gives away his glasses as payment in the process. And Nina specifically says, are you sure? But won't you be recognized? Charios says, let's move on. And Nina is a dimwit, and Charios obviously knows at this point. So, because she just gave away that she knew he was Charios.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. But he already kind of knew anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. We know he knew she was Nina. But, yeah. But now it's just at the point that like
everybody knows.
Both know who each other are.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So they come across some demon kids playing soccer with like makeshift equipment. There's like some ratty netting. They can find a ball made out of like I have no idea what it is. But like Charios joins in and he's blowing them away with his skills and it like starts to turn Nina on, seeing him playing with the kids and having a good time and like whipping around and sweat flying off and she's getting all wet and whatnot. And then like he asks her to join them and like she's like flustered. So she like accidentally breaks her ball and Charios is like, whatever. And he takes his head wrap off to fashion a new one, thus, making him obviously more apparent of who he is. But then like he does that and the kids go to play with it, but he throws his arm around Nina and points out the Onyx Knights that have been tailing him all around them. And then he's like, hey, sweetie, let's lose them. And then they run away holding hands.
Yep.
And they end up like in kind of like this cave/coast with like a little pool behind it. And Nina confronts him as to why he treats her so nicely when he's disguised as, quote, Chris. That's his name for his disguise, whatever. He's Chris. He's not Charios then. But he does such horrible things when he's the king instead. He says there's something he must achieve but can't tell her. He admits he had never met Nina in the first place. He would never have questioned his actions up till now. They finally embrace and kiss. Woo! And then like Nina suddenly breaks away and like swims out into the pond. And you're just kind of sitting there going, what the fuck is she doing? She dives under and then suddenly transforms back up into her dragon. And then transforms back into herself. And she's like, I finally figured it out. It must have been because of the kiss. So she can now control her transformation. And then at this point, Steppenwolf Magic Carpet Ride starts riding in my head as Charios rides on Nina over the whole town.
It kind of it was like Aladdin to me a little bit. It was very Disney.
That's where my mind went. Aladdin Magic Carpet Ride. And then my mind went Magic Carpet Ride to Steppenwolf. Like, I like to dream. Yeah, just totally, yeah. We both went Magic Carpet Ride, which is the main point.
Yeah.
And it was just, I thought that was really cool because it's a total reversal because it's always the male taking the female on a horse ride or a magic carpet ride or some type of tourism type ride. But it was complete role reversal. It was the female literally having the male ride her through this whole thing. I thought that was super cool.
That's kind of cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they eventually land and he tells her tells her the next time they meet, he will tell her what he's trying to accomplish. He's keeping it secret for whatever reason now. It's probably really horrible. And then the trinket he bought earlier, he also puts around his neck, and they have one final embrace. Nina leaves, and he turns to the screen and gives us a very scary, menacing, and determined look. It was just like, oh, it leaves you wondering, was he just lying to her, or was he, grounding himself to finish what he wanted to do?
That's what I thought. I think he was like taking this as like one last moment for himself before he goes to do the really bad thing. Yeah.
Okay. But then there's a very important but quick scene after the credits where the captain of his Onyx guards says he knew the Red Dragon had him under a spell.
So now that kind of sets up the Onyx guard to be the ultimate enemy, where maybe Cheerios dies. Correct. Or maybe he's like, maybe he comes over to the good side near the end when he realizes things are out of control. So
I like to dream. Oh, but also, big important piece of news. We're tack on the end here. You found this out earlier. Do you want to take it?
Wait, which piece of news?
Them taking 2 weeks off.
Oh, yeah. So Rage of Bahamut is taking a hiatus for 2 weeks after this episode. So the next episode won't be until August 18th. I don't know exactly why they're taking a hiatus. I assume it's to animate the shit out of the end. That's at least my optimistic thinking. So
assume and hope. Yeah, which is strange, because when either they delay like a day or even a week with a recap episode. Yeah. I can't really recall anybody blatantly just taking 2 weeks off.
Yeah. I don't know. It sucks. I mean, it happens from time to time. But.
Yeah, but if they're doing it to what you and I'm hoping also to just edit the shit out of the last couple episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Be my guest.
Yeah.
I would love that.
So I just like Favreau in this episode. Like, he crafted a new hand for Kaiser, and like the first thing Kaiser asks is this one going to explode?
That was great. That was very great.
And not gonna lie, Favreau with his shirt off and his like ponytail hair looks pretty hot. I'm not gonna lie, it looks good.
No, I will completely agree with you, because his fucking fro is stupid.
Yeah.
He looks way better like this.
There's a great line when Rita says to like about Elle, like, someone's gotten angsty while they were gone, like when he's like being angsty. And I was like, I liked that a lot. And even though like Cheerios is like a genocidal kind of maniac, I kind of appreciated his romance with Nina this episode just because it was so well done.
Yeah, and then like you said, setting up the Onyx Knights captain as the actual bad guy kind of makes it a little more forgiving.
Yeah. So
like more along the lines of like Cheerios is kind of learning the error of his ways.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. But you want to move on?
Yes. So the next show is Made in Abyss, episode 3, Departure. All right, so the start of this episode, Rico is determined to go to the bottom of the abyss to find her mother. Her friend Nat is like understandably very against this because he's like certain she'll die or at least never be able to come back.
Which you should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, as dangerous as they promoted this place, this is the dumbest idea I've heard.
Pretty much, yeah.
But moving on.
So Reg and Nat go out on Reg's first caving expedition, and they find some like weird rubber relics that look kind of like potatoes or something. I couldn't really figure out what they were supposed to be. And Nat
They're squishy.
Yeah, they're squishy. Nat spooks Reg with like a story about how kids are dying on their birthdays after looking into a mirror, and then they see their twisted neck in the reflection, and then they never wake up. Blah blah blah.
Oh shit! So this coming Wednesday, I'd better not look in the mirror.
Exactly. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Reg makes it clear that he needs to go to the bottom of the abyss to just try to figure out what the true nature of his existence is. He tells Nat, like, I have to go. And so Reg tells Rico that he's going with her, and she like jumps and hugs him, smushes his face in her chest. And it's funny because his eyes are open the whole time he's hugging her, or she's hugging him, and he's like, oh my God. And then, but when she moves away from him, this huge string of snot just extends between their faces for way too long. It was just so distracting. And then like eventually like
she was crying into his head.
Yeah, so it was like tear snot or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then finally she like it retracts though with like when she sniffles with this like popping sound. It was so disgusting. It really cracked me up when I was watching. But anticipating that everybody was going to be going down, Shiggy stole the most recent rough map of the Abyss from the director of the orphanage's office. So he explains to them that the various depths and areas they'll have to face on this journey. Once a red whistle descends to the second level also, which is called the Forest of Temptation, it's treated as suicide because rescuing somebody beyond that point becomes extremely difficult. So yeah, the second level is called this Force of Temptation. The third layer is called the Great Fault, which is basically just a flat cliff wall, 4,000 meters in height. And then the fourth layer, which is only available to black whistles, is 7,000 meters deep, and it's called the Goblet of Giants. Then the fifth layer is called the Sea of Corpses, and that's a place that only white whistles have gone to. And 10 or less have returned, because they say you can count the number who have returned on your two hands. And then finally, the sixth layer is called the Capital of the Unreturned. When white whistles descend to that layer, it's called their last dive, because no one has ever returned from there. So information is sometimes also sent back up to the surface, we hear, by like a hot air balloon. If the info is sent by a white whistle, it's considered to be the truth. But if it's sent from anyone who's in lower stature, it's just considered to be a rumor by anybody on the surface. So that'll be important later, I'm sure. Nat and Rico basically have a falling out over her leaving. And Reg knows that this isn't going to work, and he wants to patch things up. So he has this sweet scene. He's looking for Nat to talk to him, but he sees like Kirui, who's like the little boy. And he tells him, hey, like when you grow up, I want you to grow up big and strong and stuff. And like, I think that might be some foreshadowing. Maybe there will be a time jump in this series, or at some point, and Kirui will be a strong big boy by the next time they see him. Or they just may never see each other again. So Leader also...
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Yeah. Leader also bumps into Reg, and we find out that later on that he snuck something into Reg's pocket before he left, because I think he had an indication that they were leaving. In the early morning, Reg, Rico, and Shiggy head to go to the wharf quarter, which is like, there's this secluded place they can go to where they can descend to the depths. They can't just go to the main platform, obviously. And at the last minute, somebody approaches them who's kind of disguised, and Rico's like, she smells Nat, basically. She could tell it's him just by the smell. And he's like, fine, I'm going to show you how to get there. And Rico forgives him, and like they make up, and she hugs him and stuff. They walk through this wharf quarter. It's like this really dilapidated wooden buildings like hanging out over the abyss. Just absolutely spectacularly gorgeous background art in these scenes as they're walking through that quarter, I thought. You see these like almost like zombie people hanging out. And wooden... So yeah, I was going to say Nat has a moment like when they get to this platform where he really badly wants to tell Rico that he loves her, I think, before she leaves. But he can't because he's just too overcome with grief and he's just too nervous. He can't do it. But I feel like Rico understands his feelings and tells him that like no matter what, even if they never see each other again, it's okay because she believes they'll be connected by the spirit of the abyss or something. So Reg uses his extendable arm to lower Rico and him down from the platform and into this black void. And that's the end of the episode. So yeah, it's just basically the farewell episode.
Yeah, and you also find that there's a little bit of love story between Rico and
Nat.
What's the other guy's name?
Nat,
yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. That's it. It's quick. But anyways, episode 4, The Edge of the Abyss. We begin with Reg and Rico waking up in a cage made out of like Reg's arms, which is kind of cool. And they are also at the edge of the abyss. It's also the first layer, and like hunger strikes, and Reg goes swimming and catches like a fish for their breakfast. Rico also brought her star compass along that is able to point to the bottom of the abyss no matter what. But she loses it in the river and it's swept downstream because she's super clumsy.
Yeah.
Reg surprises her by giving her an envelope that Leader snuck into his back pocket that you were talking about earlier. And yeah, he's clearly knew what they were up to.
Yep.
Inside was like premeditated. Like he knew they were doing it before he caught him catching.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Like, wow. Inside was a copy of the notes her mother had sent back of like all the creatures and, you know, what they looked like and stuff like that. And also one more thing, a personal letter from Leader saying he will depart at dawn to go and capture them.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Using Reg's arms, they descend farther down in the abyss. Rico accidentally triggers a Silk Fang's trap, and they barely make it away at the same time. It's just it's a giant spider. That's all there is to it. They quickly afterwards come to a cliff where they can see the second layer called Forest of Temptation. Also, if they make it to the second layer, nobody will pursue them. You said that in the episode before, but it's just nice to remember this. But then suddenly Reg's like headgear senses a green flash in the distance, and he zooms in with his eyes to see a cave raider heading straight for them. They run away, but the figure catches up to him quickly, but it's just Habbo, her uncle. He seems to be there to assist the two and has like a little comedy bit where he assesses Reg as a relic and even looks down his pants saying, "There's nothing mechanical about those balls."
Yeah, that was pretty dumb.
I was like, what? Why is this written in this show? We assessed this. It was funny when she did it.
Yeah.
Because she obviously doesn't understand these things. She's young. But when he did it, I was like, well, that was creepy.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy. I thought so too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no excuses for Habbo here. But it turns out Nat and Shiggy went to Habbo to beg for him to help assist the two. So that's why he even found out in the first place. And he ends up in the end giving two more rations and also a portion to help with a potion to help with the effects of the second layer. But just before they leave, he gives them one last piece of advice before he sets off, that the person who helped carry Rico previously out of the abyss when she was born was called Ozen the Immovable. She's a white whistle, still active, and he should be wary of her. She'll be in the next town to go to. It was like the something camp.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but yeah.
Yeah, but he also says he can't go into details, and that's just basically the end of the episode of them making to the second layer.
Yeah, I thought this episode was like kind of slow. Like I wanted them to make a little bit more progress, but that like I think I'm just excited for them to meet this rabbit girl who keeps showing up in the ED.
Really?
Yeah, I just want to know what the deal is with this rabbit girl. But it was all right. Like they got through the first layer at least, so they'll start off with the forest next time.
Yeah.
All right,
go on. Let's do some 18F.
All right, yeah, 18F's next show. Episode 3 is called The Witch of First Love. And yeah, this is like just a quick synopsis because like not much really happened in this one episode. Like it was pretty straightforward. The new witch is a girl who has a terminal illness and basically wanted to experience love just once before she passes away. So she basically, in her real word form, she starts meeting up with Haruto in the park each day. I think this is still in the dream world though, and she basically ends up going on a first date with Haruto. But then after some like words between them, she remembers what is actually going on with her and that she collapsed in school and is now in like a hospital bed. And this is when she like becomes a witch. She transforms into a girl with like pink hair and ribbons. And from that point on in the episode, she basically seems to relive the same first date with Haruto over and over, like just having like your typical first date, like going to the beach and like, I don't know, just singing karaoke, like typical Japanese first date things until she's sort of become satisfied. And then at the end, though, it gets really sad because she basically passes away. And so, yeah, I mean, it was a sad episode, but at the same time, like at certain points, I didn't really understand what was happening or like what they were going for. But Leo, this episode kind of made you like teary-eyed, didn't it?
Oh yeah, I was super engrossed this whole time.
Oh yeah,
because I felt like from the very beginning, without completely giving it away, you felt like she had a heart condition and she was going to die at the end of the episode.
Yep.
So I really wanted to see what happened with her. And, you know, she was kind of I don't know, she wasn't a nobody, but as soon as she entered high school, which was like a big deal for her because she was also aware of her immortality running out very quickly. She really wanted to experience high school. So like when she literally the first day just goes into a coma, like I already felt really bad for her. So they already had me hooked there. And then now she's in her witch dream world and Haruto's there and he's going on dates with her, trying to help her experience, you know, having a first love, you know, being involved with somebody. And like you felt like the dates repeated, but the dates were all very different. They did a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And then just, you know, when she finally passed away in the end, like I was watching this at work and I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm like, I hope nobody walks up on me right now. Because like I had tears running down my face, but my eyes were watering and I was like doing the dab on the sleeve. Like, oh shit, this was kind of touching. And like, I have no personal experience with this, but like I felt it really well. I felt like they telegraphed it really well. And that really leads into the episode 4.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, I have no familiarity with it, but I felt like it was telegraphed well enough. I don't really know. Do you have any... Are we done with episode 3 right now?
You can move on to episode 4. That's fine.
So, episode 4 is The Witch of Gluttony. And they basically start talking about, you know, eating disorders, you know. Do you have any personal experience with this, or
I have family members who have gone through it, and it is very harrowing. It's a very tough thing to deal with. Yeah, especially bulimia. It's really tough.
All right, so we started off with the girl at the cafe being dumped by her boyfriend because he found a younger, skinnier woman than she is, and so his new girlfriend is a model, and he's like, oh, but you're what's a reading model?
A reading model? I don't know.
That's what he said she was.
Really?
I don't know.
Oh, I missed that. I don't know what that is at all.
It was weird. Huh. Yeah, but the thing is, it's not like she's overweight or anything. She's perfectly sexy.
Yeah, she looks totally fine. Yeah, her boyfriend is just a freaking asshole. Yeah.
Yeah. So... Anyways, to get over it, she ends up drowning her misery and eating food and eventually puking up in the toilet. But then the reflection in the toilet, she shows herself witchified persona. Apparently, witchified is not a word, so I'm claiming it. This show is very over the place at the moment. So Haruto is like having lunch with like 2 little girls when the witch blows away the walls and attacks them with junk food. It takes out Haruto and he like wakes up in his room. But then the girl is shown weighing herself the next day before she goes to work, and it's like showing it in like pigs and then like a chicken or a sheep. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But the pig obviously representing being overweight, and it shows her overweight, which is stupid because she's not.
I liked even later in the episode, she had like pig like shampoo bottles and stuff. Like she's seeing it all around her. Yeah.
Yeah. But she ends up going to work, which turns out to be a restaurant. Katsumi is currently there eating the curry because he absolutely fucking loves the curry. Mm-hmm. But then Haruto ends up back in the dream world with all the junk food again and the witch. And he bites into one of the donuts and realizes like there is no taste. I'm not sure what this went with, but whatever. There was no taste. And at the same time, it seems the girl in the real world is gorging herself again. Like this is late night, evening. She's sitting in front of her fridge open. She's just eating everything she can. And then Haruto wakes up again in his bed after being turned into a donut. Done. Quick scene. He's back in the room with the 2 little girls again, eating their grandma's curry. And it's very apparent. I didn't notice earlier, but one of the little girls is the younger version of the girl we've been seeing with the eating disorder this entire episode.
Yes.
It basically, what the thing is, she's remembering making curry with her grandmother, which she loved to do so much. But then also again that night, she's going on another gorging spree. Haruto ends up in the candy world again, running for his life. And like Katsumi is back at the restaurant and knows the curry tastes different. But then we go back to Haruto, who ends up sacrificed on a donut talking to the witch. And she talks about how she wants to eat, but isn't sure she should. So that's interesting. Like I'm assuming this is what people with eating disorders think about. Haruto ends up at the grandma's house with the witch eating curry, and he encouraged her to eat the curry, and they talk about eating and losing weight. He feeds her a spoonful of curry and it breaks a spell. She wakes up the next day with a smile on her face, and she also seems to be resolved to find another boyfriend. And at this point, I'm wondering if every girl is falling in love with Haruto. Our main character, Haruto.
Yeah, maybe. Well, he is saving them.
Yeah,
this episode, I feel like if you had like an actual experience with bulimia, it might be kind of tough to watch this episode because it is like really kind of raw at times. Like she's sitting...
Tough or relatable or I dare to say enjoyable because you relate.
Maybe. It may bring those feelings back to you, though. Like, there's points when she's, like, sitting in her apartment and it's, like, dark and she's on the floor with, like, a bunch of trash around her and she just, like, clearly is just losing control of her life because
and the only light is coming from her half-open fridge and, like, yeah.
And I think the thing with him not being able to taste the food was probably just a reflection of, like, the way she was viewing food now is not even as, like, something she tastes or enjoys. It's just, like... something she like mechanically crams down her throat because of her affliction, basically. So yeah,
they had her eating like late night binges like 5 times that episode, which is crazy.
Yeah, it really dove in. It was pretty crazy.
Like she kept doing it every night. Like she would be totally fine when she'd wake up maybe slightly but then, like, she'd go to her job and be fine, except for the one day she messed up the curry. But every single night when she got home, she would binge eat. And there was, like, one little quick screenshot of, like, where, like, she went to throw something away. And she was like, why are these wrappers in here? Like, she almost didn't even remember binge eating.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty bad.
Yeah. I don't know. They may have touched on some, like, really cool things or good things. Not cool, good. But yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but I think it did a pretty good job. The episode was good.
Yeah. All right. So finally on Saturdays, we have Action Heroine Cheer Fruits.
Only one show somehow.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? We only have one Saturday show. So episode 3 introduces a drill-haired blonde. So her name is Kanon Shimura, or they call her Mura, which means horny, apparently. She used to do rhythmic gymnastics with An, one of the main characters, and she's like an Ojo-sama, she's a rich little girl, and she's been putting pressure on the parishioners who let the girls practice at the temple. And so, like, the girls need to find a new practice place, basically, because of this. She resents An because she used to always place second to her in rhythmic gymnastics competition, no matter how hard she tried. And then An suddenly quit rhythmic gymnastics, basically because she became, like, a tokusatsu otaku. And so Mura could never get her revenge. So she's upset.
That's awesome.
So she wants to face off against An now in some sort of competition. Like, she would prefer gymnastics, but the other girls are like, we don't know how to artistically judge this. So Mura decides we can just run around a track then, and whoever wins. So there's a flashback, and she's thinking about the last time she competed against An. And basically, she did her best. It was like her best day ever. And she was in first place, by a long shot. And she went and talked to An in the locker room, and she was gonna say something quippy to her, but An was looking really discouraged, and Muramasa just happened.
She dropped out.
Yeah, An was gonna drop out because she was like, there's no way I can beat that. And then Mura said the secret phrase, "Don't underestimate me," or something like that, which just happened to be the same line that a tokusatsu TV heroine used to use that An watched. And so An gets super hyped up and does an amazing performance and takes first place. And so Muramura like resents that whole experience like till this day. So they start racing on the track, and mid-race, Muramura reveals that it's her birthday. She's also winning, like she's like way out in front, and she's like kind of celebrating already, and she's thanking God, and she's like saying she's divinely grateful to the extreme divine for this gift. A very weird thing to say, which of course turns out to be another live action Heroine saying, and so it fires on up and gives her like another like like speed boost, and she just wins the race by a hair. And so Muramura is like inconsolable and says like, you still can't use the temple, and like runs off. So since they can't use that temple, Roko says that like, hey, there's an abandoned train platform at the station where I live, and they can use that. So there's like a montage. They start working on the show. They put together costumes or start practicing, and people are starting to take notice of them. Like people pull up in a train at the train station and see that they're practicing. Muramura gets word of this, and she's frustrated that An is getting noticed for her gymnastics ability again. Just doesn't understand it. So they start having performances, but it's the rainy season in their area. So the stage is giving them trouble. They start slipping. And in the second performance, An starts she slips on the wet platform and basically sprains her ankle. And like Roko has to start ad-libbing as the villain. Muramura is like there, and she's like in her limousine, and she like gets out, and she's angry at the villain for taking it too easy on Kamidayo. And like her driver steps out, and he's like, Ojo-san, and he like holds an umbrella over her head, and she's like, Ojo-sama, that's Kaju-dayo. He like corrects her, and she's like even more pissed that he cares about this at all. And then the girls decide to end the show because of the rain and because An's ankle looks sprained. But Muramura just isn't having this. She like flips up on stage with her umbrella and says, I won't allow this. And she just starts fighting An like for real. But the whole crowd is like loving it because they think it's like a routine. And so they all get up and applaud. And then Muramura realizes that like she can get recognized for her gymnastics ability this way, and obviously loves it, even though she's like pretending not to.
So were you not surprised how suddenly her ankle was sprained and then it wasn't afterwards?
Yeah, like An is able to get up and start moving around really well. I mean, I guess maybe she got a little bit of an adrenaline, you could say, because she's like really being attacked. That was my only guess, but yeah, it was pretty sudden.
Okay, I wanted to bring that up because my right ankle can and will sometimes completely go out on me.
Oh, wow.
But I just have to give it a few moments.
Huh.
And then suddenly I have full functionality again.
Oh, that's interesting.
So like I saw this and I was like, there's no way so many people can relate and understand how that works. So, and like I don't get a sprain. I don't have any other injuries afterwards. It just literally like during like a full sprint or a sudden turn, my ankle goes out on me. And like I have to stand on my left foot. I can't even put anything on my right foot. Mm-hmm. But if I slowly tap my right foot back down and let the functioning come back, then it's like I'm back at 100%.
Wow,
so
that's really weird. That's cool though.
Yeah, no, it's totally weird. I've never met anybody else who did this. So once I saw this in this anime, I was like, what?
That's funny.
So yeah, but go ahead.
Oh, and yeah, just at the end of the episode, they get threatened with a lawsuit by like Kaminari City, I think it is, who they're
I was waiting for this.
They have the original rights to like Kamidayo, and even though they renamed it Kujo-dayo, it's like clearly the same, and they're selling these products that are like almost exactly the same. So that was funny. So in the next episode, they'll have to change things up. Why don't you hold your comment about this episode till the end of episode 4, because I think I'm going to talk about it there too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So episode 4, as you would expect, Muramura now joins the group. They have a plan to change their show to avoid the lawsuit, basically. So they set out to create their own original city Heroine. And like Leo says in a comment that he's going to talk about later, like much like Sakura Quest, the girls go try to figure out what is special about their own town of Hinano to base the Heroine off of. So they all go out and they come up with like different ideas. Like Muramura like researches a bunch of books and like bores them with statistics. And like Roko's idea is like too detailed about railroads. But basically they come to Mikan, who's like the little cute blonde girl, and her idea is to accentuate the town's like fruits, because her family grows lemons, she says, and like the whole town is like a big place to grow fruits. So, and since they'd be rooting for fruits, like she's like, maybe our team could be called Cheer Fruits, the name of the show. And so everybody accepts. They think it's a good idea. So we find out that Genki Aoyama, the blue-haired girl in the wheelchair, her sister used to be a pop idol, but her sister quit and came back home because she wasn't doing well. Her sister's name is Yuki Aoyama. She is depressed and is not coming to school. And so she's just like staying at home trying to get over like missing her big shot, I guess. There's like a big montage. Everyone works on the show and Mikan offers to write it. And I had to laugh because like during this montage of like all the girls working on the show, like Mikan is like trying to write it, and she's holding a book with the title that says "Writing is Rewriting," but it's spelled like with an extra T in writing, and then rewriting is spelled re-writing. It's just so bad. Like, I don't know if this was part of like the original episode or if like the translator got it wrong, but it just looks terrible. I just had to go, oh, Japan, after I saw that.
Yeah.
So the girls accept Mikan's scenario, and An says they should probably have like a standard musical number like the shows do, but no one volunteers to sing right away. But Genki, you see her thinking, she's clearly thinking about her sister for the role. So anyway, they put on their first performance without the singing act. And An, Mikan, and Mana, who's like the green-haired girl, are the three cheerfruit heroes, while Muramura and Roko like remain as the villains. And the performance is really good, but afterwards they like kind of like sneakily listen to some fans for the reactions, and they're saying like they expected a bigger scale for like the $3 that they had to pay, which is, I felt was kind of annoying. But like, it's fucking $3, like, come on. But apparently they really wanted something from their $3. So they go back to the drawing board and they decide they need somebody to sing. Like it has to be part of their performance. So they all go to karaoke and sing like Kami Daio music to see who gets the highest score. And like Genki gets like a 96 out of 100, and like Misaki and Roku do well. Muramura and An are terrible though. Like Muramura gets like a 30, and then An is like, the whole time she's been trying to pass, and she's like, fine, I'll sing, but I hate it. And like literally they have to do the karaoke thing where like she almost kills them with her singing because it's so bad. So, of course, Genki can't do it. She can't actually sing because she's a stagehand. Roku can't sing because she's the villain, and Misaki is behind the scenes as well. So Genki brings them sneakily to watch her sister sing. She's like at a cliffside, like she's singing somewhere alone, just missing that she used to be an idol. And they listen to her sing, and she sings really well, as you would expect, because her voice actress in real life, Haruka Ishida, is a former member of that like idol group AKB48. So, and she's also voicing Genki in the show. She's voicing both sisters at once. And I felt that she did a really good job of voicing and singing differently for both characters. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. Clearly, Yuki is going to join the group as a singer. And the other thing I failed to mention is that like in both of these episodes, there's a cute little tiny pink-haired girl in the OP for this show, and she kind of showed up in both episodes, like peeking at like the race in the first episode.
Yeah, the track meet, she was like peeking around the corner or something like that.
And then she was in the audience cheering them on in the second episode. So like she's clearly going to join soon since she's a big fan. But yeah, I definitely see the comparisons to Sakura Quest with this show. Right, because like it's like these girls who are trying to make their region
they're
better.
Both very similar in how like a group of girls are trying to revive the interest or tourism in a single town.
Yep,
and that's what they're both doing. They're just Sakura Quest is just like people, I guess closer to our age. A group of girls. They're in their 20s. Trying to find their careers. But this one is girls in their teens. Mm-hmm. Who are trying to be idols for doing the same thing for their towns to try to boost their knowingship. I mean, that's like one of the girls, like her grandmother is like the governor or something like that.
Yeah, or she's like some kind of government official, and like she gives like Misaki like an ultimatum, like if you want to save this town, like you're gonna have to like fill this auditorium that your grandfather built. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I see the two, and like I compare them, and honestly, they're airing at the same time. So I'm totally like, unfortunately, comparing Sakura Quest against Action Heroine Cheer Fruits.
Yeah,
and to me, I'm destroying it. But I mean, I see how it would be fun. Like if you were like a younger girl, you would definitely like Action Heroine Cheer Fruits more. But being an older male, I find Sakura Quest way more engaging and whatnot. But
so
I mean, I think the show's okay, but it's not my thing.
Yeah. So when the drill-haired girl showed up, I was like, something went off in my head, like a warning alarm, and I was like, this show kind of has a similar setup to Armed Girls Machiavellianism in some ways. Like in that there's like a lot of different cute girls who have different colored hairs, and they're all like little girls and they're cute. But like I feel like it deletes all of the parts of Machiavellianism that I just didn't like the crappy protagonist who's like constantly...
There's no fighting.
Yeah, there's no fighting. They're not like sexually harassing like the girls constantly, or like there's not constant fan service. Like there's some like girls like getting like into like bras and stuff in this show, but it's mostly just like they're changing, and it's also like the camera angles are usually far away and not exploiting them in a way that I think a lot of other shows do. So like I kind of
just doing the regular fan service you expect from anime.
Yeah, that's what I would say. And so yeah, I like compare this a little bit with Machiavellianism, just thinking like, oh, this is like a more wholesome show about like little girls and stuff with the same types of personalities in certain ways. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still continuing to sort of enjoy it, but we'll see as we get towards mid-season. If it gets boring or if it gets trivial, then I may drop this lock as well, but we'll have to find out.
Ooh, what would you potentially replace it with?
I don't know. I have to think about it. I don't want to show my cards now.
Ooh, okay. All right, take us out.
So thank you for listening. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube to get updates on new podcasts or videos, and follow us on Twitter at Nerdom or other for updates as well. And like Leo said before, if you have any feedback, you can email us at nerdomandothernonsense@gmail.com. But that's it for this week. Peace.
All right, peace.